Hi again, this is Professor Hannigan. We're going to talk a little bit more about public speaking. Now that we're past at least my introductory speech, and maybe you're not past your introductory speech, and you have all kinds of questions about what exactly is Professor Hannigan or are the other students going to be looking for? How is giving a speech online going to be different than preparing for a speech, say, in front of my class? Those are all good questions that you're going to ask. One student already asked me, do I have to create some sort of an account or be able to upload my speech somewhere? Absolutely. We suggest YouTube or Vimeo, which means that you're going to have to go onto either of those sites and initially create an account. With YouTube, all you have to have is a Google account, a Google email account, a Gmail account. And with Vimeo, I believe almost any email account will work, or email address will work. So yes, definitely you'll have to have that. But also there's a little bit more that goes into maybe creating a video than you might think. Just as you would prepare, however, for a speech in a classroom, you should take the time to prepare for your video. For instance, this evening, before I prepared to deliver my speeches to you, I made a quick check of what I was wearing, how I was going to present myself. So I made sure that I was wearing something that was appropriate, a decent sweater, shirt, sometimes maybe a jacket, just as I would in a classroom. Now, the advantage is, since I deliver most of my speeches sitting down, which you can deliver yours standing up if you're more comfortable, or sitting down, I do typically don't have to worry about what I'm wearing, pants or skirt wise. So, but I do make sure that I'm wearing an appropriate top. And for me, I like to wear a scarf or something a little bit more colorful, or so forth. So that's what I pay attention to. I make sure that I try to tuck in any stray hairs, just kind of go over the whole look here. And then even for ladies, look at how my face is going to appear. Look at any last minute touch-up, makeup touch-ups, and slap on some lipstick. Don't want to be dry mouth as I go into my speech. So there you have it. Appearance is important, even on a video. And might I say especially on a video, because that is that is part of your presentation, is and how you deliver your speech. You're not going to want to seem to be any less prepared in delivering your speech online as you would if you were to walk in front of your classroom of 27 students. You're to imagine yourself sitting in front of the screen and addressing a classroom full of students, and myself either at the back of that classroom or somewhere walking around, observing you while you are giving your speech or sitting at a desk up front. So when you look into the screen, or look at your screen, and you know that the little green dot or whatever is recording you, then you are imagining that whole sea of faces behind you. So I want you to take that pretty seriously. I also want you to think of the whole presentation on the screen behind you. Pay attention when you're setting up. It probably took me 10 minutes to get this lighting right, and I'm not joking. I'm actually pretty serious with you right now. My office, which I flipped for this video, if you notice, I was against my bookcases, which are on the exact opposite side of this room. And now I had set my laptop so that you can actually see the opposite side of my room. I thought a little change would be in order, where I have a couch and a comfortable chair and a curio cabinet and some pictures. This room is full of some of my photography. Unlike the rest of my house, which is a mix of paintings and other things. This is the one room which showcases a little bit more of the places that I've been and the things that I kind of want to remind me of some of the things that I do. And, well, actually, there's also some wedding pictures I remembered on the wall right behind me there of my daughter's recent wedding. Anyway, so I'm actually typically pretty concerned with what is appearing in the entire video, as should you be. It can be very distracting to hear somebody talking about the importance of avoiding terrorism in America, or the importance of gun control. And in the background, you see flower pots from their mom's kitchen, and Thanksgiving leftovers on the counter, and somebody sitting on the bed with their weights that they were just lifting beside them, or some half-strewn laundry that needed to be folded, or something like that, and your eyes are just wandering all over those videos, everywhere except where they should be, which is that person who is talking and delivering the speech. You know, unless they have props, and then you're wanting to look at the props or look at their hands while they're talking, or their expressions, or their shoulders, or whatever it is they're trying to maybe hold up to the camera. You don't want to be distracted by everything else in that video. So I challenge you to make sure that you have assessed everything else that's in that video, to make sure that if it's not a distraction, it is something that you purposely place there, that you want people to see. Some comforting, colorful pillows in the background. I want you to see and note my surroundings. I want you to feel comfortable with my surroundings. And that's why I put this particular background in back of me this time, so that you can feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more at ease. You're going to talk in your assignment this time about some of the things that you do additionally, not just to prepare for a video, but to prepare yourself spiritually, emotionally, for a speech. And oftentimes you can do that, and part of it is preparing your room, preparing yourself physically and otherwise for your speech. Now, also, what's very important, this is probably something I have to repeat over and over and over, and sometimes I think, did this person ever read this in the notes? Did they ever read this? When I give grades, I give notes. Almost always, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, I almost always give you feedback. Typically, that feedback is going to say something like, do not look down, do not place your camera below you. If you have a laptop, it shouldn't be here. Notice how it's cutting off my eyes. Notice how it's looking up at my teeth. It shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be over here while you're standing up and talking down to it. It's kind of on the bed somewhere. Okay, and I'm looking up at the ceiling. You shouldn't be standing in front of a lamp like this. That is not good. Now see, look at all those distracting things on that dining room table I didn't want you to see. Also, notice the light coming right out of my head. Not a good idea. Very distracting and annoying. And then we do this thing again. You're looking up at the duct. Not good. None of those scenarios are very good. See? Not very good at all. So, what I've done here is very simple. Look, there's a few books sitting on the edge of my desk. I know one of them's about to fall off. A few books. My feet are up on one chair. I'm sitting on another chair. I've got this all scoped out. It's at just the right angle that I want it at. I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed, and I'm talking to you. And I know that you're right there. That's the scenario in which you can feel comfortable in delivering your speech. If you feel more comfortable standing or even standing at a podium, by all means do that. I can very easily take this laptop over to my bookshelves over here. It would be harder to arrange the light, especially in this room, but I could do it. Could somehow set it up with a light in back of that bookshelf. I could get a podium, tabletop podium for my dining room table if I wanted to, and put a tabletop podium on there and adjust my laptop to go on there and stand up. I'm rather tall, that's what makes it difficult. Sometimes I'm 5'11", but I could do that. I could make myself something if I wanted to stand, just like you can. So work with it. Find various ways. If it's a laptop, if it's your cell phone, it's almost easier if you're going to stand it up in a bookcase or something. But just make sure that it's up. It's at least at eye level. The camera is at least at eye level or above, so that you're at least looking at eye level, which is about what my camera is right now to me, or above, so that you're actually looking a little bit up and you're just not looking down. You're not looking down all the time into the camera, because that does not feel natural for people who are watching your speech. Now, I'm going to be looking down a little bit. I'm going to be looking down. Actually, I'll pick the book up and look at your book a little bit and talk to you a little bit about public speaking, why we do it. Obviously, to get information across to people, to affect people, to influence people. That's more, persuasive speaking. We do it to present different materials. The page 5 of your textbook, well, if you have the 2015 one, I think it was 2015, has a gal presenting a skateboard. You might want to present resources. But we learn through public speaking that people have expectations of speakers. They want speakers to be clear and articulate. We have an expectation when we begin to listen to somebody speaking that they actually have something to say. So there are great expectations that are placed on speakers. Time, we always hear time is money, time is money, time is valuable. Speaking affects the culture. It affects individuals. We know that speaking affects the culture. Just today, I listened to a great speech. It was no more than 5 minutes. It was by this gal in Hong Kong. She's a second-year student at Hong Kong Baptist University, and she got online on YouTube in a video that has now become, well, it was actually posted to Facebook, but it's now become viral. Over 800,000 views in less than a day. And what she said was that Hong Kong can no longer be called Hong Kong. It's no longer by the name of Hong Kong, because she is afraid that instead of Hong Kong and China being separate, that they are now going to be controlled by communist China, because of what she has said or speculated, and she used that word carefully. She didn't actually accuse them of this. She said she speculated that there had been a cross-country improper arrest from China of a Hong Kong bookseller. Now, the gist of it is that the bookseller was selling politically sensitive books, which is legal in Hong Kong because Hong Kong, basically, even though they're still part of China, they have a different set of rules because they're still considered also a colony of the United Kingdom. So, what was very interesting though was her 5-minute speech. And this was a gal that 2 years ago kind of made herself known with the umbrella, what was called the umbrella protests, which were sit-ins against basically the Chinese Communist government in Beijing, which had said they want to kind of pre-vet all of the Hong Kong government officials. So she'd already kind of made herself known, but she has since bowed out of that since about October because of personal safety, threats to her personal safety. So out of a lot of pressure. So here is this young, wonderful woman coming back onto the air in broken English, British English, telling us about this bookseller who's 65 years old, who has been kidnapped, basically, she said, arrested, after 4 of his colleagues have also disappeared in the last few weeks. So she said that his wife had heard from him, but had been very suspicious. And so she speculated. But her parting shot, and this was what was great. This is the great speech making that I think a lot of people might have missed. Now, I wrote a story about it, and it's on our website at ChristianExaminer.com, but a lot of people may have missed this. Number one, she's being educated at a Baptist university. That's kind of significant for us here, California Baptist University. But it's Hong Kong Baptist University. But number two, her parting allusion, the speech that she quotes or that she alludes to is an expression by Martin Luther King, the great American civil rights activist, Martin Luther King Jr. And she talks about how he said, first they get rid of the booksellers, and then the journalists, and then the activists. And she may have had it the other way around. And then she goes, and then there's nobody, and nobody says anything, and nobody says anything, and nobody says anything. And then she says, and then they get rid of you or me, and there's nobody left. I mean, obviously. So, but what a great way to end. What a great speech. Just like a 5-minute speech. And I mean, she's just a second-year college student, and this thing has gone viral, 800,000 views already. And her whole point was to make it global, that people are aware of what is happening in Hong Kong. Talk about one young person out there to change the world through a viral video. And that's exactly what you guys are learning to do. I mean, this is a speech class, but you're doing it by video. So how awesome that this one little video. And what was significant about hers was it was her words, it was her delivery. But her appearance didn't detract from it. She was well groomed. I don't even remember what she was wearing except it just a shirt. She was well groomed. She wasn't outrageous or anything. And there was a plain background with a carpet, just a carpet, like maybe a Chinese carpet or something, hung in the background. But there was nothing distracting about the video. It was at a good, level. It's probably done with a cell phone. I mean, it was just plain. And that was what was good about it. Nothing distracting, just plain. You could see her face. You could hear her voice. That's what we're aiming for here. So anyway, public speaking affects cultures. It affects individuals. It helps you develop your critical thinking skills. That speech was incredible in that, there were some parts of it I thought, oh, that should have been, that could have been more clear here, there, rewritten here, there. But just the critical thinking that went into it, and then to end with Martin Luther King, MLK, was just really remarkable. just got the message across. So it was really a good model of communication. Um, so those are some of the things that you will explore in chapter 1 as you're going through. So make sure that you pay attention to those and you give those a lot of thought onto why do speeches work, the ones that work, how are they delivered, and what should you do, to make sure. The second chapter talks about giving your first speech and developing confidence. I honestly think that that's one of the best pieces of advice. I mean, the best things that you can do is, number one, believe in yourself. Just believe that you can do it, that you have something to say, and then say it. Believe that you have something to say, and then say it. But don't shortchange the studying and the research and the background. Make sure you put all there is that you can put into it before you actually deliver it. I've had students I know that went in to deliver, an informative speech, and they turned in their outline. And I know that when they gave their speech, from the time they turned in their outline to the time they gave their speech, they'd done no work on the outline. They basically just tried to deliver the outline. I can tell. There's no knowledge base when they actually deliver that speech. There's nothing between the spokes. There's no, if you're baking a cake, there's no filling in between there. There's nothing holding it together. There's no frosting on the top. It's just like two cake layers just kind of, pancaking together. You have to have something to hold it together, and then the frosting on the top. And that's what makes it a really good cake. The filling and then the frosting and, all of that. Even if you don't like frosting, you get the concept. Okay. That's what happens with a good speech. Yes, you need the structure, just like a house needs a good frame to hang things on. You need to have a floor plan. You need to have an architect plan. But you need that filling and that frosting to make it go. You can't get there without that research and without connecting those dots, without that critical thinking about it. Oftentimes when I'm coming up with a good story, when I'm coming up with how should I start something, a good introduction, I'm actually either in the shower, then I have to get out pretty quick and start writing something down, or I'm doing housework. I'm vacuuming or washing dishes or just doing some inane chore. And that I'm thinking. Thinking is important. Sometimes we shortchange the thinking process, or go for a walk, take a siesta and get up and wake up refreshed and write down something that, the minute you think about it. That's why don't shortchange yourself on time. Get started at the beginning of the week, and then if you have to finish off at the end, fine, but at least get started earlier. Okay, so causes of stress are when you don't prepare, when you must perform under pressure. Okay, so try not to perform under pressure too much. If you think it's performing under pressure to actually do your video, give it a couple of run-throughs. Give yourself time. If you don't have time to, pray ahead of time, okay? That might be on your list of things you want to do to actually alleviate stress. Then pray while you're throwing your things together, while you're pushing your chair in place and putting your lights overhead. Don't shortchange the prayer part. Lord, help me with this. You don't have to actually, find a room, sit down, and shut the door. Develop your skills. That's what we're just talking about, to overcome the anxiety. Pull together your materials. Learn to present your speech and all of that. Cognitive modification. You're going to learn some of these things, some of the psychological ways. Power poses. I really like that. Pay attention to that and be able to discuss that. Discuss some of these power poses. They're really helpful. They're much better than fidgeting and moving around. When I was a student teacher, one of the teachers came back and said, I love your movement around the classroom, but you have to get rid of those clickety heels if you're going to walk around the classroom all the time. And I thought, ooh, okay. So she caught on to one of my techniques for keeping students' attention, but she pointed out to me one of my shortcomings was in not recognizing that my particular shoes were going to be a distraction if I was going to use that as a technique to draw students' attention. I didn't want to click, 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 click all day long. Okay. I think that's good enough for now. We've gone through the first couple of chapters. And you've got some good things to think about and discuss in your discussion threads. And we will come back again next week refreshed and with introductions. And I can't wait to watch your introductions and to hear more about you. And then to start reading outlines about what your first speech outside of your introduction will be about. So have a great, refreshing week, this first week of January of the new year. God bless.